Hi guys, this is HeyJay Stylexio and welcome to another tutorial. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful blouse you are seeing on the screen. Well, if you're interested in this tutorial, watch till the end. We'll be learning the pattern drafting and also the sewing process. Well, I want to welcome all our subscribers in the channel that have been with us from day one, and our new subscribers, you're also welcome. So let's get started. We're drafting the pattern and we're drawing a line, which is the shoulder line. We'll label it as shoulder line. Then from the shoulder line we'll take the other measurements, and these are the measurements we'll be using. The shoulder to nipple, we'll be marking it, which is 10.5. then also mark the shoulder to underbust, which is 14. I'll be marking the shoulder to half length, the front length, which is 17, and then the blouse length is 24. So the blouse length actually is 26, but because of our pattern paper, I'll be working with 24. If while cutting on fabric, I'll add any extras I need to add. So I'm ruling the lines out, and then from the bust line, I'm going to go up by 2 inches to get the chest line. This is not a constant, but most times it works for almost everybody, so you could use it. So now I'm labeling a chest line, the B for bust line, waistline, under bust, waist, and then hip or top length. So on the shoulder line, we'll mark half of the shoulder measurement, and the shoulder measurement we're working with is 16.5, so half of it is 8.25, and then we'll mark same measurement on the chest line. Then we'll connect it with a straight line. So this is the basic bodice we're trying to construct, and we're going to alter it into the corset. So from the shoulder line, we'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, then get the midpoint of the remaining part of the line to form our armhole curve. So on that midpoint, we'll go in by ½ inch, then connect it to the 1 inch part we came down from the shoulder, and then use the curve part of your ruler to get the curve. But before then, we place the bust measurement divided by 4. So now connect it to the bust line, to the bust measurement. Now that this is done, we're going to start by taking the neck depth. So you can choose any neck of your choice. Here I'll be working with 3.5 by 4 inches, but you could choose any neck of your choice. You could do 3 by 3, though it's going to be tight a little, but depending on the neckline, the wide width of the person's neck as well. So I'll just connect it with a curve and then join the shoulders, the shoulder to the neck with the slants. So now that this is done, I'm going to impute my dart, and to impute the dart, I'm going to be taking the nipple to nipple, the bust span measurement divided by 2, and here I'm working with 4.5. So I'm marking it on all the lines just to get a straight line when I want to, just to get a straight line for connecting straight line. So I'm going to connect the points together. So like this, now we're still making our basic bodice. So on the waistline, I'm going to be taking ½ inch on both sides of that bust span line for the dart, and the dart will stop 1 inch below the bust line. So I'll connect both darts to the bust 1 inch below the bust point, and then I'll connect it straight down to the hem of the dress, which is the hip line. Now that I'm done, I'm going to take the full measurement, which is the waist measurement plus that on the waistline, so I'm adding 1 inch that. Then on the hip line, I'm going to add the hip measurements, but I'm not adding that there. Then I'll connect the bust to the waist and then the waist to the hip. So with a straight line, I'll connect the bust to the waist, and then with the curve part, I'll connect the waist to the hip. Now to get the bustier effect, we're going to tighten the underbust. This is what we call underbust tightening. So to tighten the underbust, on the underbust line, we'll take the underbust measurements divided by 4. Then you go back to the underbust, the dart there, get the measurement of the dart. What I have there is ½ inch. I mark it. Then I check what is remaining. So whatever is remaining, which is 1.25, I'm going to add it back to the dart. That is our underbust tightening. So the 1.25, I'm adding 1 inch on the side and 0.25 at the middle, at the center front. So this is called underbust tightening. This is how to tighten the underbust. Now with the curved part of the ruler, I'm going to, or with the French curve, I'm going to curve, get the bustier curve. On both sides, I'll curve it. Then I'll connect it to a straight line to meet the waist line. So here we have tightened the underbust. So when you hear underbust tightening, this is basically how to tighten the underbust. Now we place the tape on the bust line and on the underbust line to get the difference between the bust and underbust. And here the difference is 3.5. So I'll place the 3.5 on the bust point to mark outside the chest line to get a new chest line. So on this new chest line is where I'm going to be doing taking all my dart for the upper chest tightening or over bust tightening. So if you hear over bust tightening, this is it. So I'm taking the midpoint of the shoulder and then I'm connecting it to the line coming from the bust point. I'm going to take, now the difference between your front and back is whatever it is, you're going to be using it. So the front length is 17 inches while the back length is 15.5. So the difference is 1.5. So that 1.5, we're going to be taking it as that up here. So on the right hand side, we're taking 1 inch, while on the left hand side, we're taking ½ inch. So whenever you're taking that and you're trying to use the dart to form a bustier, always take more dart on the right hand side, which is where the bust is fuller, so that you can get more contour. So I'm just going to use the French curve to get the bustier curve, and then on the other side do same thing. Now you can see that the bustier is already formed and it's beautiful already. So you could use this to also cut your madam blouse or any type of outfit you're making. So from the shoulder, I'm going to mark 9 inches. From the shoulder of your client, you can choose how much depth you want. So from the shoulder of this client, I'll be marking 9 inches. But the style we're working with, there is the it has a plunging neckline that stops at the underbust. So to get that, though we're going to be tweaking it a little, we're not adding that part, but to get it, just for those that want to make exactly as it is, on that underbust line, just mark ½ inch. Then from the new chest line, or from the chest line, you mark 1 inch, and then we're going to curve it to the 1 inch. So from the chest line, you come in by 1 inch, then you curve the darts on the upper chest line to that 1 inch, and then you can use a straight ruler to form the plunging neckline. So that's how to get that plunging neckline. So I went in by ½ inch from the underbust. You can also make the line straight just to that point there, so you can make it just straight like this. So whichever one you prefer, you see that V shape there. In some outfit you see the U shape, so whichever one you prefer. But for this client, she wants some modesty, and so she doesn't want any cleavage showing, so we'll be working with the 9-inch mark we first placed from the shoulder, and on that 9-inch mark we're going to be going in by ½ inch. So on that mark, we'll rule the line straight to the bust line. Then we're going to connect the line to the upper chest dart to give us top of that cup. Then from the underbust, we're going to curve it to meet that line at the center front. Now on the side front, from the bust point, we're going to mark the difference between the bust and under bust, which is 3.5, and then we'll add half inch, so making it 4. So it's just a guide in making our curve, our cup curve. So we're going to draw the curve from the under bust to that 4 inch and then straight up to meet your armhole curve. But now for your corset, you see many persons make corset and then it's tight. So when you're making your corset, for a corset with sleeve, you come down by half inch. While a corset without sleeve, a tube corset, you come down by 1 inch. So because this is a corset with sleeve, I'm coming down by half inch. So from the armhole curve, just come down by half inch. So that's going to be the new armhole line, the new chest line for your armhole curve. I hope you understand. So curve back the top of the cup on the right hand side and then curve it into that half inch to get a new armhole curve. This will create more space for the armhole after cutting out the bustier. So you want to convert it into a 3-piece corset. This is how to convert it. From the middle, you can just take 1.5, while on the sides mark 1 inch and then join them together, and that is your 3-piece corset. So for someone wants to make 3-piece corset, this is how to make your 3-piece corset. So you just label them, then you join them, the 2 parts up as 1 piece when you're cutting. So now for the style we're working with, the dart was moved. So to move the dart, please take note, from the center front we go in by 2 inches, and then we're going to connect from the under bust to that 2 inches mark we made at the hip line, and then the second dart leg we're going to take it down there as well. So this is what we call dart movement. So we move the dart from the original position to a new position. So when you see some styles with the dart bent and curved, this is exactly what they did. Now to introduce another dart, you can introduce multiple darts. That is why pattern drafting is beautiful. It gives you flexibility, it makes you creative. So you can introduce multiple darts. To introduce another dart here, we just take the midpoint of each line, the bust line, the under bust, and the waistline, the midpoint from where the dart leg stops to the sides, and then draw a straight line connecting them. So you just draw a line from the top to the hem of the dress, then you take half inch dart on both sides. This is what we call waist snatching. We are taking half inch on both sides on the waist, so that's what we call waist snatching. Now this dart we're taking, we're not adding it back because we're trying to snatch the waist of the dress. So I've connected it. Now this dart can also be moved. So if you want to move it closer to the previous dart, you can choose to move it by 1 inch or 2 inches, whatever you want. And you can also choose to move it by the sides, to the side and seam. So whichever, you can just be creative with your pattern. So now that I've moved it, I'm drawing a new liner from the dart to the new point where I moved it to, and then on the waist part I'm going to take the same dart again now from on that new line to get a new dart leg. Now it might look rough, but I'm going to be using my marker to highlight the lines we'll be using when I'm done with the construction. So I'm just trying to transfer the dart from the previous dart to this dart, just to let you know how flexible the pattern is. So you could make multiple darts as much as you want. So you can even fix that on in between all the cups. You can fix that there. You can just be flexible, you can just be creative, and then just have fun with your pattern. So on the upper part bust, want to tighten it. So to tighten the upper bust, we're going to take half inch on both sides again. So half inch just to tighten the upper bust, to make it really firm, to cover the cup very well. You can choose to leave it open like that, and then you can choose to tighten it. So when you're working with a client that really wants to cover a lot of cleavage and cover a lot, then you need to tighten your upper bust. So this is what we call upper bust tightening. We're taking a half inch again from both sides of the dart leg, and then we'll connect it back to the bustier, the bust point. So I'm going to use my marker now to just highlight all the lines so that we know what lines we are working with because of our multiple dart lines. So if you're watching this video to this point, I'm sure you're enjoying the tutorial. Don't forget to drop a message in the comment in the comment section and tell us what you think about this tutorial. Tell us if it was helpful and if you want to see more of this. Though I'll be dropping the sewing tutorial later. So now we're going to be constructing the back pattern, and we'll extend all the lines. We'll extend the shoulder line, the bust line. Let me just take the bust measurement from the shoulder again to get a straight line. Okay, so now we'll extend the bust line from the front pattern. We're trying to create the back pattern side by side. Well, if you're a new subscriber, you're welcome to the channel. Please don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you get notified when I drop the sewing tutorial. So the front length or the front half length is 17, while the back half length is 15.5. So we're not extending the front half length or to the back because their half lengths are different. So we're going to be using the back half length to construct the back, which is the waist. So the difference between the front and back waist is 1.5, and that 1.5 we're going to add it as bust that for the front. So the front length, the blouse length also is 24. So for the back length, the blouse length now will be 24 minus 1.5. So that is how you make your back pattern when you're making a dress and you want that perfect fit or cut. So the back length is shorter than the front length because of the bust part, and the difference between the front and back is 1.5. So whenever you're working your client, their measurement will determine the difference between their front and their back. So back to the shoulder, I'm going to take half of the shoulder measurement, and then I'm going to take it also down here. Oh, I forgot, we're supposed to take it on the chest line. So we're going to go up by 2 inches to get the chest line, thereby extending the chest line from the front pattern. So just extend it. So the lines we're extending from the front is the shoulder, the chest, the bust, the shoulder, the chest, and the bust. For the waist and the blouse length, it is determined by the half length of the back. So now I'm going to mark the half of the shoulder measurement on the chest line, and then we'll connect it with a straight line. So now on the bust line, we're going to place the bust measurement divided by 4. Then on the waistline, we'll place the waist measurement divided by 4. And then on the hip line, we'll place the hip measurement divided by 4. We're going to connect these lines now with a straight line and then a curve. So we're connecting the bust to the waist and then the waist to the hip with a curve. So for your dart, we're still taking the bust pan measurement divided by 2 to get the dart, and we're marking it on the bust, the waist, and the hemline. We're going to connect it with a straight line. Now before we continue, let's make our sleeve, the armhole curve. So we're going to come down by 1 inch as usual and then get the midpoint from the remaining parts. So from the midpoint, just do a curve straight to the bust line, the bust measurements. So for this back pattern, you don't need to go in by ½ inch the way we went by on the front pattern. Then for the neck wideness, we did a neck wideness of 3 inches at the back, at the front. So we're doing the same thing at the back, 3 inches, but for the width is 3.5, sorry. Then for the length, for the depth is 1.5 we're using. So I just want to construct it, just placing my armhole curve, my French curve, then you join the shoulders. So now on the waist of the blouse, we're taking ½ inch on both sides, and then we'll just connect it straight. So here you don't need to come down by 1 inch because there's no bust here. This is the back pattern, and then we'll take it straight to the hem of the dress. So this is the basic dart. Now you can also introduce more darts to your dress. To introduce more darts, just get the midpoint of the remaining part of the back pattern of the from the dart leg to the side, get the midpoint and then draw a straight line. Take another dart. This is what we call waist snatching as well. This is part of the waist snatching. So you add the dart leg, draw the dart legs from top to down. You can also choose to take more darts, maybe take a dart at the center back and then connect it. And we use this especially when we're making dress with zip to remove the zip bulge, but we'll not be working with that, so I'm erasing it now. So that's basically it. Then for the that we took, we need to add it back. Then for our yoke, we'll choose, first of all, we're snatching the waist of the dress and we're adding eyelets, so just choose how much opening you want. So on the top I took 3 inches, why did down I did 1.5, and I want a V shape opening at the back. So you can choose to use a zip if you want, but that's what I want. So on this back now, I'm going to be cutting that part out, and if we're cutting that part out, we have to reconstruct the neckline to fit into this new neckline. So you can either form a keyhole neckline, just curve it to that new part of the dress where the dress starts from, then you put a button or a press button there, or you can just draw a straight line if you want a straight line to just join the dress, or you can even do a curved neckline to meet the new dress, because the other part now is out after removing, because of the eyelet to be fixing. So I'll just join the shoulders. Okay, now, so this part I'll be fixing the eyelet, just for us to know that we're fixing eyelet. That is the reason why we changed the neckline. So for the yoke, we want the front and back yoke to be equal. So the front yoke, we know we came down by ½ inch, so the same thing we're going to do by at the back. We came down by ½ inch also on the side, and while at the center front of the front yoke, we're coming down by 1 inch. We're going to do a curve, even though we're not using that part, just to get that curve. So this is the back yoke. Now this is where our eyelet is going to be. We're going to fix the eyelet. It's already coming out beautiful. It looks like the corset dress we see online, or you can decide to put your loop on the side like so. This is basically it, and then you just tie your rope, you lace it. So the dart we added, please make sure you add the dart before closing the sides. I forgot to add the dart allowance, just the first dart allowance, the basic dart allowance, not the new dart we added, just the basic dart allowance. So I'm just adding it back now, but when you're constructing, just add the allowance immediately so that you don't need to clean it off. So I'm going to use my marker now to highlight these lines so that we know the lines we are working with. So now that the front and back length, they are not the same, to make them equal, first of all, we need to introduce the bust dart. So the difference between the front and back is 1.5. So on the bust line, I'm going to come down by 1.5, then connect it with a straight line to 1 inch before the nipple point. That's the nipple point I just asterisked now. So 1 inch before the nipple point. All our darts, we take it 1 inch, either before, above, by the side, but always take 1 inch. So by the time we close that dart, the front and the back will now be equal. So I'm just going to highlight the line so that we know the lines we are working with. So I've labeled it center front, middle front, and then center back, side back, middle back. So now I'm cutting, and I'm also cutting the shoulder dart so that I can close the bust dart. This to enable me close the bust dart. So now that the bust dart is closed, I'm going to use my transparent tape to just hold it in place. But now if you check now, the two sides, the front and the back, the sides, they are now equal. So this is the essence of the bust dart. So with closing the bust dart, now the front and the back, they are now equal. The line now, you cannot make it straight. If it's not straight, that is on the side, before you add your side seam and all of that. Now you cannot choose now to add how many allowance and how much allowance you want. If it's 1.5, if it's 2 inches, you just choose whatever allowance you want, and then you add the allowance to all the sides of the dress. So that's just basically it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. You can share this video with your soulmate, with your friends, with your loved ones, and let them know that the sewing tutorial is coming and it's going to be wild. Thank you.